pennies. Thank you, sir.
You know what else? They're gonna put a little app on a phone, or not an app, but like a phone case on your phone that makes it to where you could spin the wheel.
Okay.
You know, like dial it with the old school.
Oh, the rotary?
Yeah,
the old
rotary
Ford.
stuff.
Okay, all right, okay, all right.
Grandma used to have one in her, house. A pedestal one that was just sitting in the corner, never used, just for fucking 30 years.
Yep, it was a Pac Bell phone. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yes, my grandma had one too.
Fucking gold. My grandma.
Yes. Yes.
She buys shit at Ross, paints it gold. Bam, matches everything in the house.
That's a good question.
Krylon.
Krylon. Some Johnny Bench, no run, no errors, no. What was no errors, no runs, no fucking streaks? Was that Krylon? No errors, no runs, no streaks.
Yeah.
That was Johnny Bench, wasn't it? When we were back in the day.
Very good call. Yeah.
No errors, no runs, no streaks.
Fucking Johnny Bench.
Fucking Johnny Bench.
Fucking big red machine, my ass.
Yeah, no, I know exactly.
You turned your back on Sparky.
He drank fucking diet soda. I mean, you're gonna tell me no runs, no errors, no streaks, sir? No. I call bullshit.
I have no idea who this guy is, so I'm
Johnny, you remember Johnny Bench, right? He was the dude that was sitting on there with the bald head, or the balding head at the time.
He was the greatest catcher of all time.
Sure, absolutely.
makes sense.
Johnny
I'm not
Bench.
a sports guy, man. It's
But he kind of got himself.
Well, he's before
into
my
it.
time too. I mean, he played professional sports before I was even born.
Yeah,
but
me too.
When I was a kid, somehow he was a spokesperson.
But he was in a few
Here's one for you.
shows. Yeah, he was one of that first era of sports players immersing themselves in the TV shows, and,
Yes.
or ads and shit like that. It was way before Jordan or LeBron.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Or Shaq Fu.
Or Shaq
Which,
Fu.
I mean, Shaq.
Shaq Fu,
Shaq
absolutely.
to me.
It was before
best.
taco neck syndrome.
Girl.
Do we remember taco neck syndrome when Shaq had it?
That puppy was like,
He was
what are you
like-
talking about, dude?
He was like,
Bites
I gotta
the
go get
shit
some.
out of me.
I gotta go get some new Epson fucking toner for my my printer. I'm Shaq.
Sometimes Shaq
Yeah.
has to back up some blue steel.
He does. He does. He does.
So he needs a neck.
Yeah, he's like, sometimes Shaq gotta buy a printer that can print out his dick and don't run out of ink. So you know what I mean? Yeah. So that's what Shaq says. Yeah.
That they already got the shot.
Yeah. Kobe's never had that problem, but apparently Shaq has it all the time. Whenever I see his Epson tank commercials, have you seen one of those Epson tank commercials?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No. Okay. If you see TV, Shaq comes on. I just saw it this past weekend. Shaq came on my TV and said he had a new Epson tank printer system that was way better than any old shit I had, which is called a printer.
I've seen that. Shaq, They got I think in the it was either Menifee or Marietta, but they had like a life-size Shaq.
Yeah,
Epson
right.
Like damn.
I think, and that's what I was saying. It's like it's like Shaq made a fucking printer that can print out the fucking picture of his dick without running out of ink. So that's what he went with.
He finally came up with a worse idea than Shaq Diesel.
Or taco neck syndrome. When he just walked around like this.
No,
Thank you, Taco Bell.
Shaq
Yes.
Shaq Diesel was appropriate when he was Shaq Diesel. If you were,
I do.
you were too young. But like if you were watching the Lakers at that time,
I saw
when he was
Shaq Diesel. I smoked it too. It was sativa based.
There was
It's a really old strain. Yes, it was. I'm not bullshit.
There was. And it was no G. But Shaq was a bad man.
Back in 2000. In 2000, there was a Shaq Diesel strain. It was like a fucking. I mean, can you imagine before apps and really before any of this shit now? It was like There was a strain when the Lakers were kicking ass
Yeah.
and they were in the finals and they were
So
all their
they
shit.
get
It was
wolves
Shaq
and
Diesel,
snakes
bro.
and ladders.
Shit, fuck it.
You
I
down?
was thinking maybe a cup of coffee, man. Get some
Get
coffee.
on it, man. I got
Well, you gotta turn it on. There's already shit in there.
Yeah.
You just gotta warm it up.
I just actually had it up.
Right.
little coffee, a lot of coffee, Hendrix coffee. There you go. She's all warm and
There
ready
you
to
go,
go.
Bobby. Snakes and ladders.
I can get
Well-
some sugar from the house if you'd like. Otherwise, I got.
We're behind the scenes here. We're live. I mean, Happy New Year, everybody! Again, I mean, really, Happy New Year, everyone. 2020, guys. The future. Half of the country is already in it already. Happy New Year. How you doing? 2020, the future is here. Gerbil, how you feeling on this New Year's edition?
Well, that's surreal, I suppose.
Yeah, that's a good attitude. All right.
Obviously pessimistic.
Okay.
No, I don't know. I didn't know, Bobby. 2020.
The Roaring Twenties. As a kid, I always heard about them, but now we get to relive them. The Roaring Twenties.
Yeah,
I mean-
it won't be the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we're gonna live the 20s. We never went.
Sure.
to
Of course.
Roaring 20s.
Sure. The difference is, I guess back then they didn't have blockchain.
I personally, I think our 20s will be roaring for a different reason.
Okay.
Well, it may be kind of the same,
How so?
right? I mean, the 20s were ushered in by World War One, right? And we're taken
Right. It's true.
and
It's true.
taken out on the backside by the Great Depression,
True. So right.
more or less.
Right.
You know, plus or minus.
So what are going to be our Roaring
There-
Twenties?
There's a prediction. Do you think we're going to go into the next depression in the 30s?
100 years later, history following itself.
No,
100
that's
years
what I'm
later.
saying, in which is a vague,
Okay.
a vague provocation.
Well, it's going to
But
happen sometime this century.
I think something big, like really big, is going to happen.
Do you think this decade China overtakes the U.S. dollar as the world currency?
This year?
This decade.
No.
This decade. Do you think
No.
this happens this decade?
No,
Do you think it comes close to happening
No.
this decade?
no.
Do you think cryptocurrency?
World War
Hey, hold
happens.
on. That's a exciting question because I don't think no, but I think
Pissing
the
my dog
Chinese will
off.
have more U.S. dollars than us.
I think that's a fair statement. I mean, we're talking about 10 years from now. You know what I mean? Like, or how about this?
Absolutely not. We come to a world war before that happens.
Do you think that world currencies? Do you think that cryptocurrency? Do you think like for example Bitcoin, which is up 9 million% from when it started 10 years ago? Do you think something like Bitcoin 10 years from now is like an international standard or model that either banks or some type of exchanges accept as currency?
It could be, but I think it falls in line with what we were talking about before about power. I mean,
Kind of already is that way.
Well, but we.
But do you think this decade's going to usher it in a way
But,
that's
I mean,
just unseen?
But the
what-
fractional
what
reserve
protects
system, the
that?
United States dollar isn't that much different than Bitcoin, you know what I mean?
Yes, it is.
The majority of it's non-existent.
Well, no, the U.S. dollar is backed up like every other dollar is backed up by either economic or military might or a combination of the two. Whereas Bitcoin is this universal trade to where it's not actually backed up by any sort of military might or there is an economic influence because of what it is.
If you think that
But-
our money's backed up by anything for real anymore,
Dude, if the US
we have too
dollar-
much money out there to be backed up by anything.
If the U.S. dollar is not backed up by military might, then the dollar
Backed
is
up by the
worth
fact that
zero.
America's saying otherwise.
There ain't no fucking gold in
Motherfucking
Tennessee.
right, our money's
There ain't
still
no
worth
none
money.
of that shit.
Question though.
Our dollar
Dollar's
is
a
worth
fucking dollar,
money.
right?
Question.
Our dollar is only worth a fucking cent because
Question.
we will go nuclear shit right now.
No, that's
We
very
will
true.
Blow you off
That's
the
very
map.
that's very true.
That's
On the edge of 2020 and in 2020 right now, where we are currently, that's very true. But do you think sometime though in
Went
this
too
coming
far.
decade, do you think that we may have some type of calamity, some type of event, okay, whereby some other currency, maybe a cryptocurrency, maybe a digital currency, something like that, could possibly be a standard so that it could actually regulate other currencies to the US dollar at some point in this decade going on as more
Get rid of
sync?
every other
Well,
dollar,
you're-
dinar. Get rid of all the pesos.
Are we
get rid
talking
of all
more?
that.
Right, well, I guess what I'm saying is that because of our stock market, which has gone up more than any other stock market, is the highest it's ever been, plus our standard of living, which is a lot higher than anything in the third world or any like half of the world's
Unless you've been to the
population.
airport.
It's like, do you think it's possible that sometime in this decade, that as the U.S. standard of living, cost of living, and the Western quote-unquote way of life goes up, do you think that somehow if our way of life goes up and other ways of living, third world, other countries like that, go down, do you think there might be some tipping point at some point this decade where there's something that to regulate it, and that might be not a currency, right? But like instead of like a regular currency, but like a digital currency.
Half of the contest.
Right.
The other half would be big
As
deals
far
for
as
stone,
goes
I'm
with
gonna
currencies,
trip out or something.
what
That's
a
like I said,
pound
that's a hot
is, or
mama.
a
Later up.
Sausages,
yen,
those
or
little
a
fucking
dollar, I don't know.
You know, they try to sell them at Shell too. When you
Shifty.
used to work at Shell.
That's the green backer right there.
Shifty,
Oh,
That's the
shit.
Hulk.
Shifty, what do you think? Do you think that this? Do you think that this
Shifty
decade, possibly something may happen where some other type of currency that we haven't thought of, some type of like digital currency, cryptocurrency,
Like he's off weird
might be
science
used to
right
stabilize global
Robbie
currency,
Downer
or maybe
Jr.
some countries'
Fucking weird
currencies.
science.
How about this? What do you think about them starting to print money on hemp again?
Think about
That could certainly any
On
country could do
weed.
that. But I'm talking in order to stabilize that printed money, in order to stabilize it, could there be some type of new currency, some type of digital currency, some cryptocurrency to do that? As these third world's currencies continue to sink versus Western
Or you're
and
talking
U.S.
about it as the aliens bringing us in.
Well, I mean,
money.
like as of right now, that would have to be at the convenience of the World Bank, which is owned by a small select group of people. Only 2 countries in the entire world don't participate in this system, and so if it were more convenient to them, then sure. I mean, why not? Then you don't have to waste resources printing money if it's all just
I don't-
digital.
and
But
that-
the idea of cryptocurrency moving forward towards the future, I mean, it kind of makes sense. It's in line with like everything else, like we were talking earlier about.
Why would you
Space
want? Why would you want to
exploration,
get cash
things
to
of
put it
that
back
nature.
into the
But
machine?
that, but
instead
that
of
all
just have
is
it on the
based
debit
on
card?
belief in the system, right? Because like we were talking about with dollars, the American dollar, there's might behind it, whether it's military or economic,
Well-
in which most dollars are. Whereas cryptocurrency is just purely economic might and data influence.
Well, the reason I bring it up, and you're right, you're absolutely right, and the reason why I bring it up is because exactly 10 years ago is when Bitcoin started. No one had ever heard of it before then because it didn't exist. And here we are 10 years later, and we have international laws written about this particular type of commodity that didn't exist 10 years ago.
You want to know something?
You know
funny
what I mean?
is
Like-
they had this game platform, and I swear, when I first started hearing about Bitcoin, I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, they had a game platform, and I'm starting to forget what the hell it was called, but they had all these games. Wild Tangent, that was what it was called. So there was a bunch of games on like HP computers or whatever when they came stock back in like 2000, 2003, some 2004 maybe, and you play these games, Wild Tangent, and there was a couple games that you could only play if you had these special coins, and they were called Bitcoins, and I was like, okay, no big deal, just give me a coin so I can play this game. I was just waiting